माधव कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राचार्य अस्तोतर हिजवानगज अभय छन्नारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 7, entitled The Killing of the Demon Trinavrata, Shlok number 12. Please repeat after me. Purvavat Stapitam Gopai Balibihi Saparichadyam Vipraha Brahmanas Hutva Archayam Chakruhu Dadihi Akshat Kusha Ambubhihi Purvavat Stapitam Gope Balibihi Saparichatyam Viprahutvarcharyam Chakrur Viprahutvarchayam Chakrur Dadya Akshat Kushumabhubhi Purvavat Stapitam Goper Balibhi Saparichadyam विप्राहुत्वार्चरयां चक्रुर् दद्य अक्षत्कुसुमुभिः पूर्ववत् स्थापितं गोपे बलिभिः सपरिचद्यम् विप्राहुत्वार्चयां चक्रुः दद्य अक्षत्कुसुमाभुवि पूर्वत् स्थापितं गोपेर् बलिभिः सपरिचदम् विप्राहुत्वार्चयां दद्य अक्षत्कुसुमाभिः पूर्ववत् स्थापितं गोपेर् बलिभिः सपरिचदम् विप्राहुत्वार्चयां चक्रुर् दद्यक्षत्कुसुमाभुभिः पूर्ववत् स्थापितं गोपेर् बलिभिः सपरिचदम् विप्राहुत्वार्चयां चक्रुर् दद्यक्षत्कुसुमाभुवि माताजी's पूर्ववत् स्थापितं गोपेर् बलिभिः सपरिचदम् विप्राहुत्वार्चयां चक्रुर् दद्यक्षत्कुसुमाभुवि पूर्ववत् स्थापितं गोपेर् बलिभिः सपरिचदम् विप्राहुत्वार्चयां चक्रुः दद्यक्षत्कुसुमाभुवि पूर्ववत्. As the hand cart had been situated before, Stapitam, again assembled with the pots situated properly. Gope, by the coward man. Balibihi, all of whom were very strong and stout, and who could therefore assemble the parts without difficulty. Saparichadyam, with all the paraphernalia kept on it. Vipraha, the Brahmanas. Hutva, after performing a fire ceremony. Archayam Chakru, perform ritualistic ceremonies. Dadihi, with curd. Akshat, grains of rice. Kusha and kusha grass. Ambubihi, with water. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. After the strong, stout cowherd man assembled the pots and paraphernalia on the handcart and set it up as before, the Brahmanas performed a ritualistic ceremony with a fire sacrifice to appease the blood planet, and then with rice grains, kusha water and curd, they worshipped the Supreme Lord. Purport. The hand cart was loaded with heavy utensils and other paraphernalia. To set the cart back in its original position required much strength, but this was easily done by the cowherd man. Then, according to the system of the Gopajati, various Vedic ceremonies were performed to appease the calamitous situation. Om Jnana-Timirandhasya Jnananjaya-Shalakaya Chakshurunteena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swamiti Namani. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namani. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashate Ishtarane. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. It's a bit embarrassing for me to speak in front of Srila Prabhupada's disciple. It's like a small child speaking his broken realization to a person who is so advanced in devotional service. So basically it is Prabhu's mercy that out of fatherly affection he is taking the pains to lend his ears and Mataji as well to this broken realization. So I seek their blessings so to able to speak in a manner which is in Guru Shishya Parampara. So here we are talking about the killing of demon Trinavatas, in which just to go into the mood, those who have not been attending regularly, just to set the mood. So Krishna is brought to Gokul, and now recently a Putana, in just merely few days, Putana demoness has been killed, and now Krishna is 3 months old, and just being 3 months old, the child, young Krishna, is now just learned to turn. Basically, the infant child is on the back when he is put to rest, and by his own strength, then he turns. And that ceremony is observed as Utthana, wherein the first time the child is also brought outside the house. And as per Gopi Jati, as Srila Prabhupada says, a ceremony is held where Brahmana is called, a lot of guests have been called to celebrate this particular development of the child, where he has shown some progression of his development. So it appears from the various shlokas that on that particular day, Mother Yashoda was with the child. It could happen that the child was already and mother was on the bed because the child was asleep. Probably the child was inside the house, or once the baby and the mother was there in the child, the Yashoda mother brought him and kept him below the cart. Maybe it so happened that maybe the mother and the child maybe also been below the cart because the child was just feeling sleepy and the mother was attending to it. But again, because the ceremony is there and the child Krishna is asleep, the mother Yashoda goes to attend. All the brahmanas who have come, all the guests who have come to participate into this ceremony. So a scenario where the child is there asleep and now it is just awakened, and it's being a child when it's awake, what it requires is hungry, and it appears that the child was hungry. Out of hunger, no one around. The Acharya says that the lotus feet of the Lord, just like a tender leaves means very soft. You don't take care of them, you can break them apart. So this particular Krishna's lotus feet, just like tender leaves, when it kicked out of need of milk, it kicked the wheel of that cart. Just by the touch of by the lotus feet of the Lord, the cart was broken into pieces. So here is interesting to know that Srila Prabhupada gives an example that in the previous avatars of the Lord, like Lord Narasimha and Lord Vamana, they took a gigantic forms, a different form, just for Lord Narasimha to kill Hiranyakashipu, to enhance the mood of fighting. He took the form of a half lion, half man. And here for Vaman Dev, just to take the 3 worlds, he had to expand himself to put the steps therein. But for little Krishna, he didn't do anything. He just had to put his lotus feet onto the cart, and the cart was broken into pieces. And this cart is not an ordinary cart. This is Shaktasur, who is, we heard from the previous classes, that this is basically a demon sent by Kamsa and he did not have a gross body. He had a subtle body of air, which you just can feel, and he had taken shelter of this particular cart, and the intention was to harm Krishna. But Krishna has his own way. Nobody can do any harm to Krishna. So this is the scenario wherein and Srila Prabhupada says again in that particular purport that when the cart was dismantled, no harm was done either to the child Krishna nor to the surrounding area. I remember when I heard this, I remember when we were in engineering field, to lift a small block of iron or some cement, they will do something called risk analysis, where we check what can go wrong and it may spoil the assets or the property what we are doing the work, and as well it may injure the other persons. And so much mind is put into it that it goes into pages, and then it is signed by various line managers, goes to safety manager, just to lift a small block of piece of wood or iron. And here we see that in this small killing of Shaktasur, where on that many different things were kept, paraphernalia were kept, and Lord Sri Krishna, just by his touch, finishes the entire cart. Nobody is harmed. Super risk analysis done by Yog Maya. No one is hurt. Just can imagine how perfectly the energies of the Lord work. This is part one. Now here, if you look at this particular shloka, specifically, it's translated here. That after the strong and stout cowherd men assembled the pots and paraphernalia on the hand cart and set it up as before, the Brahmanas performed a ritualistic ceremony with a fire sacrifice to appease the bad planet. So something will ring our minds, but particularly a neophyte devotee, that how is this possible? In Vrindavan, a bad planet could be affecting the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and someone who consults an astrologer that there is some impediments in one's life, he will rush to perform whatever Graha Puja been advised by the astrologer to perform them. He wouldn't give a second thought, should I perform or not, just because he may take shelter of this particular shloka. Though in this particular the Sanskrit shloka, the word doesn't appear here, but just to give continuity of reference, this translation has been pulled from the previous shloka. It's called Graha Sanketa, where the Gopas and the senior Gopis, they thought that it's possibly because everything is in order, nothing is around the place which could give harm, and this particular cart could be broken, and that too some kids tells that it has been broken by Krishna. It is difficult for them to believe. So the only they could conclude was there may be some bad influence of the bad planet which is harming Krishna, and we have to appease that bad planet so that our little Krishna is protected. So how do we understand this, that the influence of bad planet, and that too in Vrindavan, where the Supreme Personality of Godhead is there? Talking back again, a devotee, as I said, a neophyte devotee, if he doesn't take shelter of the right senior devotees or a guru, then there's a chances that just reading this line or shloka, he may run to an astrologer to perform that particular appeasement of a graha dosh. But we should understand that when we take shelter of a guru, and that who is that guru? Like we chant in the morning, Chakkudan dilo jai janme janme prabhu se divya gyan hridaya prakashito prema bhakti jahavate avidya vinasho jate vede gaya jahara charito. So wonderful line to meditate every day, which is stanza, is very wonderfully written by Narottam Das Thakur, whose today is his disappearance day. So in this line, Guru, who has taken shelter of the Guru, what he does? He gives realization at every step. And what is that realization? Whatever seva is given by the Guru to a disciple, he performs it with full heart. And as he performs that particular service to Guru, then the realization takes place. And when that realization takes place, each time it's a new birth for him. Janme Janme Prabhu se. And to what extent? To the extent that he gets fully realized into the heart, and that realization not just small bulb which is a small ray, but a effulgent realization to understand what is the material world and what is the spiritual world. So much so that in his heart, Prema Bhakti is love is developed for Lord Sri Krishna. Love is developed for the Guru. And all material hankering into this heart is finished. Now the second line says basically that Vedega Jahara Charito. The Vedas chant his glories. Why is that? The job of Vedas is basically to pick up the conditioned soul and give him information of the spiritual world and guide him back to the spiritual world. Srila Prabhupada was asked, there are two Bhagavats, person Bhagavat and book Bhagavat. Which is better? Srila Prabhupada said, it's a person Bhagavat. Why? Because the person Bhagavat can pull the sadhak's ear and he can correct him. But book Bhagavat cannot do that. So, Vedega Jahara Charito, the job of the Vedas is done by the Guru. Vedas can only direct, but the spiritual master literally takes the hand of the disciple or those who follow him back to Godhead. So this is the reason Vedega Jahara Charito. So it's very important that we take shelter of a Guru when there's a problem in our life and not follow blindly what the astrologer has to say. Now again, we have to understand that in the spiritual world where Krishna is there, how a bad influence of planet could be ever takes place. So in the spiritual world, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's all we know. And there's no one above him. And then still, why is this problems happening in the spiritual world? Is nothing but the work of the Ladini potency of the Lord. Ladini potency is nothing but the pleasure potency of the Lord, the energy of the Lord which gives pleasure to Krishna. So when these activities happen, it gives an opportunity for the devotees of the Lord to express their love. So, to please the Lord, they can go to any extent. They don't take care of their bodily. They don't take care of what is their existence is at the cost. But still, they are ready to do anything for the pleasure of the Lord. Just like there's another, in Krishna book, we'll understand that there's a vrata observed by the gopis called Katyani Vrata, wherein the gopis are worshipping Katyani Devi just to get Krishna as the husband. But when you come to Krishna consciousness, we have been told no demigod worship. And here we get to see that the gopis are performing Katyani worship. So how do we understand? So the gopis, the resident of Vrindavan, they can do any extent to please the Lord. Just to understand still further, who are these resident of Vrindavan? These are infallible, liberated souls. And they are called Ragatmika Bhaktas. They are the expansion of Krishna himself, and they have spontaneity of attraction and pleasure giving to Lord Sri Krishna. So in our basically perfection, when we want to assess conditioned soul, when we need to perfect our soul, perfect ourselves, there are, what we do is called sadhana bhakti. And this sadhana bhakti is broken down into two. The first phase is called Vaidhi bhakti, where by following rules and regulation, what we do is we force ourselves to remember Krishna. Though by nature, by our body, we don't like Krishna Katha. This is exactly what the beginning is there, wherein Sukdev Goswami, once having discussed the killing of Putana, he tells the benefit of hearing this Katha. He says that one who hears this Katha, childhood pastimes of the Lord, with faith and devotion, attachment to Govinda takes place. And to that, Parikshit Maharaj reciprocates, yes, these are pleasing to ear and mind. Whatever dirt is in the heart, it is cleared by hearing Krishna Katha. And please tell us more of this Katha. It's quite natural, even if you look into newspapers, when we see that some child prodigies, when they do some extraordinary thing, we rush to those news to hear how a small child could do this. Similarly, Krishna has taken this particular pastimes just to attract people of the lowest of degraded person. He gets to hear about Krishna Katha. A small child could do such a wonderful activity. It attracts his mind. A very pleasing. When you talk about how Krishna created this material world, talk about creation, how wonderful energies of the Krishna are working, it can only attract a person who is on a Jnana platform. But an ordinary person, he may not attract. But the wonderful pastimes of Krishna, it easily attracts any person, even from the lowest background. So that's the beauty of Krishna Katha, specifically his childhood pastimes. So coming back to this particular, we are talking about sadhana bhakti, wherein a person does sadhana bhakti, we are forcing ourselves to remember Krishna. And by forcing ourselves, when we develop taste, then what we do is we get to the another stage of sadhana bhakti, which is called Raganuga Bhakti. And what is that Raganuga Bhakti? We take shelter of the perfected beings of Vrindavan, which is Ragatmika Bhaktas. And under their guidance, we develop spontaneous love for Krishna. So this is what relationship a sadhak has with the Ragatmika devotees of the Lord. These Ragatmika Bhaktas, they go to any extent. They don't care for their comforts. They simply want pleasure of Krishna. So even during the Ras Leela time, when Krishna played his flute, all the gopis were doing n number of activities. Someone was feeding the child, someone was taking care of the husband, someone was taking care of the in-laws, someone was taking care of the cows at that period. And when Krishna played the flute, they did not care a simple thing. What they want was Krishna is calling us through his flute and we have to run. So they dropped whatever things they had in their hand and just simply rushed towards Krishna. We, as a conditioned soul, cannot do it. For us, even getting up for the morning for a Mangala Aarti is a tough job. We have to put a lot of efforts to do our sadhana, to follow the regular duties which is given to us, the prescribed duties of four-legged principle and chanting 60 rounds. We have to force ourselves. But for Ragatmika Bhaktas, it is spontaneous. So this Ragatmika Bhaktis, the gopis, even we get to hear that basically some of them, they gave up their lives, they gave up their bodies and they rushed towards Krishna. Some of them, they had their garments upside down. The lower part, they put it on the top and the top was put on the lower part just to satisfy Krishna. And what happens is it intensifies the love between Krishna and his devotees. That's the purpose where all these incidents are put in Vrindavan, where one see that there is an turmoil, that there's some problem in Vrindavan. But there is nothing called bad planet. All this is done by the Ladini potency of the Lord, just to give pleasure to the Lord. Just like Srila Prabhupada gives his own example, that when Srila Prabhupada was young, his mother would put saliva on his forehead. She would eat with her left hand. She had taken a vow, though she is coming from a Gaudiya Vaishnava family, out of affection for the child, so much love for the child, that she decided that I will eat prasadam, food, only with my left hand, and I will give it up when Abhay, when he asks that why are you eating with left hand, that time I will give. But for a Vaishnavas to eat with the left hand is very out of etiquette, person eating in left hand. But she took that pain so that all comforts can be brought into the life of her child Abhay. So one other incident, Srila Prabhupada gives example that once when he ate by mistake melon seeds, all the children, his siblings were teasing him. Now a big melon tree will grow in your stomach. He gets terrified that a big plant, a tree will grow in my stomach. So he rushes to a mother. And the mother, what she does is chant some mantras and says, no, don't worry, everything is taken care of. So Srila Prabhupada says at that particular time that just like Mother Yashoda would chant Narayan Kavach, would chant Putna Kavach, different names of Narayan, just to bring protection to the child, my mother would also chant for my better health. So just coming to this back, it's the same phenomenon where it is the intensity of love which makes person to do anything for the beloved. So another side of it is Srila Prabhupada gives an example, is that intensity of the spiritual world, the love which is there, can be only be comprehended by conditioned souls when they see an infant child is been taken care by the mother. When the child goes to any pain, whether it is day or night, her only focus is how do the child gets comfort in his life. Otherwise, the love of the spiritual world we cannot comprehend. This is just an example to understand. So there is another example which His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj gives an example of Srila Prabhupada's pastime, where in the old time, during the Mayapur temple was being built, Mayapur land was procured and there was a plan to put up the temple, wherein Srila Prabhupada was living in the thatched hut, as one single room thatched hut, wherein Malti Mataji, wife of Shyam Sundar Prabhu, would cook for him along with the child Saraswati. It was everyday business offers is to go from that Mayapur temple where is Srila Prabhupada Bhajan Kutir is there. From there, go to the banks of Ganges, haggle with the boatman, because you have to cross the Ganges with the boatman, because all those times they would cheat foreigners with any price they will tell, so that they can get extra money from the American people. But every day it was a affair for her to fight for the right price for that boat. Then she would next go take a rickshaw, man driven by the man, by the pedal rickshaw. Again haggle with him for the right price, go to the vegetable market, buy fresh vegetables, fight with him again for the right price, and this along with a small child. You can imagine an American young lady with a small child. America, that which was at least 100 years ahead of India then, and this particular Mataji along with the family had come to this unknown village called Navadvip Mayapur. All the while fighting for the right price, coming back home, then cooking for Srila Prabhupada. And every day Srila Prabhupada would complain. He would criticize her. Something is right, something is not right. It's an everyday affair. In those days, it was like they were ready to do anything for Srila Prabhupada's pleasure. For us, if our senior person, our team leader, if he tells something us very politely, we get disturbed. We are ready to leave our service and take shelter somewhere else. But those disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they were ready to do anything. So her only meditation was, how do I give good service to Srila Prabhupada? What she had was nothing but a small charcoal stove and one kerosene stove. On that two stoves, she has to manage Srila Prabhupada's cooking. You can imagine. And Srila Prabhupada would have his dal, sabji, rice, and at one particular time itself. So it's a meditation was there that how do I do nice prasadam for Srila Prabhupada. So once everything was nice, she thought that today is my day, Srila Prabhupada would be happy. And she presents prasadam to Srila Prabhupada, and when time has come to collect the plate back, Srila Prabhupada says, today the salt was more. And the salt was not more in sabji or dal. The salt which is put extra along with the lemon, rice and ginger, that salt was extra, and Srila Prabhupada criticized her. And for her then, this is it. I cannot tolerate anymore now. Said, I am going to fall apart. Srila Prabhupada is not happy with my service. I need to tell Srila Prabhupada tomorrow that today is my last day. Please. She decided, and inside she felt relieved. Yeah, this is the only way I can continue my sadhana, otherwise I will be offending. Srila Prabhupada will be unhappy with it. The next day, and Srila Prabhupada in those days had a bad name among his god brothers. Why? Because he was keeping female disciples in ashram, and he was eating prasadam cooked by female disciples, and it brought him a very bad name. So the next day she had prepared her mind to, I'll tell Srila Prabhupada that that's it, I'm done. Please, there'll be a better servant, better cook who can offer these services. She's about to tell this, and Srila Prabhupada says, today my god brothers are coming for lunch, so kindly prepare prasadam. Initially she thought, when my god brothers are coming for the lunch, the thought came to her mind, oh, Srila Prabhupada must have already organized some other cook, because every day he's complaining, and what to talk about when god brothers come, how am I expect to cook for him? So then she thought, okay, now I have to cook, means okay, I will tell him tomorrow about it. And his god brothers have come, she is cooked, and there's one partition where it's separate, one single room partitioned by a kitchen, and Srila Prabhupada is bringing his two god brothers. And this time for prasadam, she takes over the curtain of that partitioned room and presents the prasadam to Srila Prabhupada. And that Srila Prabhupada said, and that Malti Mataji covers herself very nicely, could never ever find such a disciplined female disciple where she is so particular, taking care she doesn't offend the other Vaishnavas. And Srila Prabhupada says, yes, I have female disciple and I take food cooked by them. But he continues, but she is ready to slit her throat for my sake, and I'm also ready to do for her sake. Hearing this, Malti Mataji couldn't expect that every day she gets criticism from Srila Prabhupada, and hearing these beautiful words, she was sigh of relief. She could understand what it means was Guru's love for his disciple. Though Srila Prabhupada externally was chastising her, but there was a deep love for Srila Prabhupada, for his disciple, and same wise the disciple had for Guru. So just to give a glimpse of what is the love, intensity of love in the spiritual world. There is no question of having a bad effect of a bad planet or something. This is only to bring devotees closer, to intensify their love. And with that intensity, Krishna gets pleasure to see the dependency of the devotees on him. But for a conditioned soul, we are just talking about, then how do we understand? A person sadhak who has just taken Diksha, and he feels that there's a problem in his life, and he approaches the astrologer. The top astrologer says, Baba, you have a problem with so and so graha. And if you do not do this, then you'll have more problems. And the poor person, that particular sadhak who has taken initiation, who has not been properly trained, or maybe has not taken the right shelter of the right Vaishnava, and he has a fear to go and approach his guru. Now what do I do? My astrology chart says that I have a graha dosha. What do I do? But without doing that, he performs some graha dosh appeasement of that particular demigod. Actually, he is falling more deeper into trouble. One should understand that person who has taken shelter, who has expressed his desire of going back to Godhead to serve Krishna, and he has taken shelter of a guru and he has been initiated, he has to understand that he is not an ordinary jiva like what a karmi is. For a karmi, the material energy is putting him to trouble so that he do more sinful activities and fall more deeper inside the problem. But for a devotee, entire thing remains the same. All those problems, what is graha dosh is nothing but it's a reflection, it's a mapping of what bad things or sinful activities one has done in the previous life, what pious activity has done in this previous life. It's just a map. But for a person who has taken shelter of Krishna, what it happens is Krishna personally takes care of him. Just like Srila Prabhupada gives an example, that when a child is there and it is troubling the father and mother, then the mother calls the ayah, the nanny, please take the child. And that's what the material energy is. Because the child is troubling the father, the nanny takes the child away. And once he hears that how the child is doing, that it is rectifying, that it is improving, then he goes to personally go and get the child. Similarly, Krishna, when he knows that my part and parcel, jiva, he has developed desire of coming back to me, he personally comes. What he does is all this arrangement of all problems in our life is nothing but Krishna's standing there. Graha is only Krishna is standing there. Only for our purification, because he knows that there's a problem in life, he'll take shelter of Krishna. And when one takes shelter of Krishna, he purifies. His intensity of purification develops. That's the only purpose, that how a sadhak should look at this particular graha chart. At least he should go take shelter of a Vaishnava astrologer who will guide him the proper way. And he will do whatever prescribed in Vaishnava line of graha dosha, he can follow that. So that actually he is doing more service to Krishna. And the effect is he is getting more and more purified. He doesn't feel the effect of bad things in his life. There's another story I wanted to tell, but I think the time is short. Can I take another 5 minutes? Okay. Just to understand this further, there is another story of a devotee of Lord Krishna called Raghudas from Puri. This Raghudas, when he was young, what he did was he offered a garland to Lord Jagannath. But the only problem with that was The thread in that garland was of banana, uh, the banana thread, not the usual thread. And the pandas, the pujaris, they thought that this is not suitable for offering, and they rejected. And Raghudas felt very sad that I prepared this garland out of love for the Lord, and it has not been accepted. Through that, then Jagannath also reciprocates. Then whatever garland was put by him, it starts falling. No garland can stand around his neck. And all those pandas, pujaris, they are also disturbed. That time they were very pure as well. They get disturbed. Why is this garland falling? What's the problem? So then they decide among themselves that we have to understand now why this is happening. So they start fasting, so that they're able to have a communion with the Lord. So after some time, the Lord comes in one of the pandas' dream and tells that whatever Raghudas is preparing as a garland, you shall accept it. Then only your offering is complete. Just like I get happy, not by various glittering things, just water, leaf, patram pushpam phalam toyam. Just out of love, when it's offered to me, I accept it. I don't want any big things. This is what he conveys to one of the pandas, and they start taking whatever Raghudas brings. And over a period of time, Raghudas has become famous in Puri. And suddenly Lord Jagannath develops in his heart, now I want to taste jaggery, jackfruit, his favorite fruit, jackfruit. So he tells this to Raghudas that I want to eat jackfruit. Can you please get for me? So said, no, not get for me. We will go and steal from the king's orchard. And those jackfruits are very tasty. The Raghudas asks, you are the Lord of the universe, Jagannath. Why have to steal? You can get anytime when you want. What's the need of stealing? I can get it for you. What's the need? Then Lord Krishna tells, Jagannath tells us, the stolen jackfruits are more sweeter than the ordinary ones you buy in the market. So we'll go and get those particular jackfruits. So Balram, Jagannath and this Raghudas goes to the king's orchard, the jackfruit tree. And according to plan, Lord Krishna and Jagannath and Balram makes young Raghudas to climb the tree and to pluck the jackfruit. And suddenly after some time, Lord Krishna, Jagannath and Balram, they see that the Mali, the caretaker of the orchard, the garden, is coming, and they disappear from the sight. And this Raghudas is there on the tree, plucking a jackfruit tree. And all these people are amazed. Baba, you are such a great devotee of the Lord. What you are doing in this king's trying to rob jackfruit? We didn't expect this from me. And they produce this Raghudas to the king. And then he narrates the story that actually it's not me. It is basically Lord Jagannath's wish that I went and plucked those jackfruit. It is not for me. They understood, yes, maybe Lord Jagannath is very famous. He can do whatever he wants. The story adds further to it. In the last days of Raghudas, he is completely bedridden. He can't move. There are some sores on his bodies which are foul smelling. Nobody around the place is coming. All the area is really bad smell. Krishna, as a young boy, and he actually unconscious, he also doesn't know. He just in a semi-consciousness is lying on the bed. So young Krishna, little boy Jagannath, comes and takes care of this Raghudas. Takes care of his urine, his stool, cleaning his body. And as Raghudas, over a period of 15 days, he becomes a little bit conscious. And he says, oh, who is doing this? And he suddenly catches the hand of Lord Jagannath, Lord Krishna. And there's a discussion. And he said, Baba, what are you doing? You are the Lord of the whole universe. Just by your wish, you can cure me. What is the necessity for you to personally attend to my body? To that, Krishna says that if were I to cure your body immediately like this, then the impressions of your past life of sinful activity which is there in your heart will be there, lying in your heart. They will never be cleaned. You have to go through this suffering, bodily suffering. That's the way of your purification. And only when it is done, you will be qualified to come back to me. This is the same Raghudas who is to play with Lord Krishna, rob jackfruit from the tree of king. But for him, even there's some dosha in him for which Lord personally came to clean him. He had to also undergo this purification. So this is the relationship between Krishna and his devotees. Intense coming together, and which gives pleasure to Krishna. So there is no bad omen for a sadhak, which is to the different demigods or different planet. One should seek immediately shelter of an astrologer, of a senior devotee or guru to understand what is the next step further. Do I do this puja, or what is the other way of getting the remedy out of it? The only purpose of getting problems in a sadhak is purification and nothing else. With this, I conclude. If anyone has to add any comment, any questions, I submit myself. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय.